Hello, and today we're going to go over the veins of the body. If you haven't seen the other videos, first start with the circulation of the heart, and then the anatomy of the arteries of the body, and then watch this video. It'll help build, the information will help build upon itself, and it'll be a lot easier to understand, and then move on to the models video. Um, so on the veins, we're going to start off with the biggest vein in the body, and that it goes right, I know this isn't the actual shape of a heart, but you get the idea. But there's a big, huge vein that comes down right here and empties into the heart, into the right atrium, and this is called the superior vena cava. And it also extends down. It still empties out in the same place up here in the right atrium, but it also extends down, 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 down through the abdomen, and like here would be the diaphragm. And it extends down past the diaphragm, and into the abdominal region where it collects all of the used blood that's been used up and deoxygenated. That's why the blood is blue, because it doesn't have any oxygen left in it. And it empties into the heart. So this is the last stop of the blue blood, of the deoxygenated blood, before it empties the heart to get sent out to the lungs and reoxygenated and turned red. So this is actually the last vein, or the last big vein in the flow of the blood before it gets to the heart. Now, just like the arteries and the ascending aorta and how the branches came off of the ascending aorta, and I'll do another video to show these veins and arteries side by side. This superior vena cava, before you get to the superior vena cava, there are two big branches that turn into the superior vena cava, one going to the left, or one coming from the left and one coming from the right. And they're really big and fat and short. Now, what did we say we call the veins and arteries, or the vessels, that are really big and fat and short and that branch off into something else? We call them trunks. So here's a trunk and here's a trunk. And these trunks are called the brachiocephalic trunks. And while in the arteries, if you recall, we only have one brachiocephalic trunk artery, and that's on the patient's right side, and it's asymmetrical, it's lopsided. But in the veins, we have both left and right brachiocephalic trunks. And those brachiocephalic trunks are fed by, just like a tree trunk, it branches out. So this has two branches, two major branches that feed into the brachiocephalic trunk. One goes out to the shoulder area and one goes up to the head. Now this one that goes up to the head, this is called the jugular vein. So this is where, you know, if you're watching an action movie or something and somebody cuts somebody's neck, and they say, you got him right in the jugular. This is what they're talking about, this vein right here in the neck. So this goes up and into the head, and then it branches off up here. So, jugular. And then this other vein, this other branch that branches and turns into the superior vena cava, this goes out to the arm and the shoulder. Now, what bone is right here? See, I'll make the bone purple. What bone is right here between the sternum and the shoulder joint? This is the clavicle. So this vein right here is called the subclavicular vein because it goes right below the clavicle. And then it comes down into the arms, and right where it passes up at the armpit area, that's called the axillary. Because axillary just means the area underneath your arm, the armpit. Now this branches off right at the axillary, maybe a little bit before it gets to the axillary. This branches off into two major veins that run down your arm. Now this vein comes down on the pinky side. I drew a really poor hand there. This is the thumb because this is anatomical, and here's your pinky. So this vein comes down on the pinky side, and this is the major vein in your arm, and it goes all the way down, all the way down. Now on the artery, this would be called the brachial artery, right? Well, this has a different name to it. The veins in the arms, their names are different than the arteries in the arms. But it's okay because it still starts with a B. So where the artery would right here would be called the brachial artery, this is called the basilic artery. Or the basilic vein, excuse me. So the basilic vein goes all the way down to your pinky. Right at the, or I'm sorry, let me do this one first. This other branch, where it branches into the subclavicular, this other one comes over on your thumb side of your arm, and it goes all the way down, all the way down. And this one is called the cephalic. Now, why is it called the cephalic? Because it pretty much leads up to the head region, and cephalic, cephal, in the word cephalic, means head. C-E-P-H-A-L, that means head. So it goes up toward the head. So they called this one the cephalic. I know the basilic also goes up near the head, but for some reason they called this outer one the cephalic one, the cephalic vein. And then it goes down, and then there's a whole bunch of veins and everything in your hands. And most teachers in the A&P 2 don't require you to memorize those, but you can always look those up. Now, at the elbow area, let's see, here is the elbow area. We'll just say this is right here. At the elbow area, this branches between the basilic and the cephalic and makes this nice little area from which you can get your blood drawn. And this little shortcut between the basilic and the cephalic is called the median cubital, and I'll put this up here. Median Cubital Vein. So it's just like it's on the the right side of the patient. It's also the same on the left side of the patient. The jugular goes up here, a branch that turns into the Brachiocephalic Trunk, and the jugular comes from the head, and then also coming from the arm is the subclavicular vein, the subclavian vein. And the subclavian vein comes around, it breaks into two, the one on the outside by your thumb is the cephalic, and this other branch that goes into the subclavicular turns into the axillary, and then that turns into the basilic. And it's just like, if you like to cook, you know the word basil, the herb basil, and it's spelled the same way, just with an IC at the end. And this goes down toward your hand, toward your pinky side of your hand. And right there in the middle where the elbow is, it goes from the basilic, well, it comes from the cephalic, and it goes over to the basilic, it goes up to the basilic, and that is the median cubital vein. So that is, that's pretty much it as far as your arms and your head and everything, and from the inferior vena cava. Here, I'll label this down here, inferior vena cava. And remember, they all dump out up here at the right atrium in the heart, and that's where the blue blood gets into the heart.